What is New Paltz?
A nice little town with a university, so that means there's students, so that means there's young energy and a constant turnover of people. There is life of the mind. It's a culturally rich town. It's not far from New York City, and it's in a very, very natural, beautiful nature area.
Wouldn't it be nice if we could form a community center for us, or we could get together, show our art? For years, people would say, someday. I'm a painter, and I also run a nonprofit art gallery that's based in New Paltz and Gardner, New York.
I'm the president of Roost Studios, Inc., and I'm also an attorney by day. And I guess most relevant to Roost is that I'm an amateur photographer. I'm particularly interested in cityscapes, city architecture.
I'm one of those people that, at 4 years old, if you asked me what I was going to be when I grew up, I said an artist. My grandmother was an artist. My mother was an artist. They were both painters. And so when I went to apply to college, of course, I applied to an art school. So I went to Parsons School of Design in New York City and got a BFA in painting. And at the same time that I was doing that, I also got a teaching certification to teach art K through 12 through Bank Street College of Education. And I did that because my parents said something to fall back on.
Roost was created in 2016. The founding of Roost really began with Marcy Bernstein.
So I'm also an outdoor enthusiast. I've hiked all 46 high peaks in New York State. Became a 46er about 7 years ago. I'm a technical rock climber, and I've traveled all over the country rock climbing. I almost think of my paintings as scar tissue that builds up over time, and that's a really ugly metaphor. Someone told me never to say that once because scars aren't that pretty, but to me they're like badges of honor. I mean, I have a lot of scars on my body from different things. I had a bad bicycle accident that left my whole face scarred up. Someone pulled over right away, and she was a nurse, and she calmed down my friends. I was in shock. I don't remember any of this. I guess I was conscious, but I don't remember it. She told everyone to calm down, and she kind of cleared my airways, because it was like 11 teeth in my nose and my mouth, and I couldn't breathe, and just kept me breathing until the ambulance came and the medevac helicopters to take me. And they didn't know if I had brain damage or not. When I did finally get home, one of the first things that I asked my friends was, who was this woman? So her name was Michelle Fox, and she lived in Kerhonkson, and I called her up, and I told her who I was and that she saved my life and how indebted I was to her. And she said, well, I made a vow when I became a nurse that I would never, ever pass by anyone that needed my help.
Well, it was devastating. I guess I start with, how we see ourselves literally is how we look at ourselves in the mirror in the morning, and sort of the most essential parts of how you identify yourself were really shredded apart.
My mouth basically had to be rebuilt, mouth and nose and jaw, and so I couldn't speak.
And in a lot of ways, she was kind of looking for what could she do at that time.
Was able to get through that and start the gallery, as not just in despite of it, but almost because of it.
And her mother was right there, probably more than anybody actually. Her mother was a tremendous support, and I was there. And Roost wasn't existing at that point, so it followed from that. But yeah, there were a number of people. I was one of them, but there were a number of people, her kids, who really were there, and just making sure she got what she needed, as she kind of got back on her feet and started to think about where she was going. Roost began to develop.
He was amazing. Without doing it together, it never would have happened, because I would speak to him and then he would speak to the public. So out of that partnership, we were able to get it started.
And we, as I mentioned, we began as a physical gallery space. New Paltz generally had a kind of a reputation for being an artsy community and having a lot of artists. And there were some organizations that were connecting those artists, but we still saw the need for something that was sort of, located downtown, that might connect in the college and young people and old people and all kinds of interests in the arts together. We had an idea, she and I had spoken for a long time about the needs for some kind of an artist organization and kind of a community of artists in the New Paltz area. Lori Feldman was one of the initial founders with us.
Well, I started in the beginning, the very beginning. I had my first camera when I was 4 years old. Photography led me into commercial art. Then I got more into the art side of art. After being a member for 2 weeks, I was on the board of directors. And then within a short period of time, I took over the treasury, so I'm the treasurer. Marcy. Marcy has an idea tree in her head. Marcy and David started Roost Incorporated, which is a 501c3 not-for-profit charity, and they conceived it to be a community arts organization. And they did the business setup of it, and then they found a very, very generous man in New Paltz who owns real estate, who offered to give them free space to get their thing going. And so the landlord, the free space, and the not-for-profit were all coming together. We would have a holiday show, and we'd just say, anybody who wants to put a piece of work in, a small piece, and we charged a small fee, $10 for them to enter. And we got 100 artists and 200 pieces of artwork, and diverse artwork. It was really thrilling to see different levels and stages of artists having their art hung in the same space. So it was fun. She's really got more energy than anybody I ever met.
As we got into COVID, we decided that it was not to our interest to keep paying rent on the space. And so we basically went into a brief period of hibernation to sort of figure out, well, what do we do now? We still felt like we had something to offer the community, something to contribute, but we didn't really know what it looked like. And obviously, everybody was in a state of what does this all look like and where are we going from here? But we did see where there was an opportunity for us to offer different programs online, offer students maybe even better partnerships than we had provided before. So we started doing a lot of that. We've developed into much more of I guess an online-based organization. That's not to say that we won't at some point consider having physical gallery space again, but right now we're kind of in a good place where we're doing a lot of different types of activities in the community that are not connected to having a gallery, and in some ways that's allowed us to take in more members than we did before, which is great, and members from all kinds of places. I mean, we can have members in other countries who just like what it is we have to offer. We're creating now a photographer's corner, which is specific to the interests of photographers, so that's something new.
We are right now reviewing 23 applications to pick 4 artists that are going to go in a little outdoor gallery that we're having built, a small gallery that's going to go in front of the Gardner Library. It is, what is it? I think it's about maybe like 36 by 24, and it stands on a high pedestal. So when you walk up to it, you're going to be standing and looking right into the exhibition. And the hope is that those boxes could be constructed and be put in a lot of different places. We have a wonderful artist who's creating the boxes. His name is Ryan Solomons. We're calling it the Tiny Roost. And the boxes themselves are works of art.
This is my shop here, and I specialize in signage and graphic design. I had an open house where I created an event for the public to come. Marcy was my only client that day, and so thankfully for her, I was able to get one job out of the event, which was great. I've been working with the Roost since about November, and it's due in about another month, which it'll be ready. It's some exciting stuff. Working with solar panels, and so I've had 3D custom parts for housings of electronic units. I've had to waterproof the box.
And it has LED lights that can be adjusted. There's audio in it, so the artist can record a little message and someone could push a button and hear it.
It's been an interesting learning experience, that's for sure.
I just urge people to check the Roost website, roostcoop.org. All of the artists, all the member artists have their work on the Roost website. And then you can click on any one of those names and see more about that person.
We're getting new people that are taking a look at Roost and seeing how they can get involved. We've also significantly revised our membership structure in terms of pricing and everything. So the goal of that has been to make membership a lot more accessible, not just to sort of the every person member, but especially to students and seniors, and really create no barriers to entry.
I'm always amazed and so grateful that after 7 years, and even without a physical space, it seems to still be going strong, I, as the director, and the gallery itself is listened to in a particular way in the community, like an organization and a person that can make a difference. And that's so empowering, because when people listen to you and look at you that way, then you actually do have the power to make a change. It's not something that's really objective. It's like the community grants that ability to me.